So once again, our lesson will be solving problems involving combined variation. So eto siguro yung iba sa inyo, sawang-sawa na kasi yung process paulit-ulit lang, yung mga steps paulit-ulit lang. Pero ang pagkakaiba lang sa mga variation na 'to is yung itsura niya lang when it comes to interpreting it into a mathematical equation. So, once again, sa pangatlong beses or pang-apat na beses ko na sasabihin, the steps in solving problems involving combined variation will still be the same from the direct, inverse, tsaka dun sa joint variation natin. Magbabago lang kasi kapag in-interpret natin as an equation si combined variation, iba siya dun sa tatlo. How do we solve combined variation problems or problems involving combined variation? So, siguro sawa na kayo sa steps na to. Yan no, the steps will also be the same as the steps in solving joint variation. So, this can be a step for joint variation at the same time for combined variation. So parehas lang sila. Now first, you have to identify the quantities. Second, you have to verify the type of variation. After that is to construct a mathematical statement. So I think by this time, alam nyo na kung paano to nag-work tong first, second, and third step. So hindi ko na masyadong i-elaborate yung other steps up to 6 step kasi I hope by this time, yan, medyo familiar na kayo sa kanila. Hindi naman nagbago. Siguro yung kulay lang ng background nila yung nagbago. So as we continue, let's try to have this first example. So, yan, katulad ng joint variation, medyo mahaba din yung mga examples or mga type of problems involving combined variation. But huwag kayong mag-alala, same step pa rin naman. So, the current I varies directly as the electromotive force E and inversely as the resistance R. If in a system, if in a system, current of 20 amperes flows through a resistance of 20 ohms and with an electromotive force of 100 volts, find the current that 150 volts and 20 ohms will send through the system. So from this one, same step pa rin yung gagawin natin. So okay lang kahit hindi mo muna masyado maintindihan yung problem sa una. We know that this one is a type of uh, combined variation problem. So una, you have to identify the quantities present on the problem. Ito medyo take note nyo kasi it's already an application of I think a lesson in science about current, electromotive force, and resistance. So baka malito kayo kasi the first quantity will be current but the letter that is represented is letter I or capital I. Because in science, I think they represent current as I, hindi C. Kasi parang iba ata yung value ng C or ibang quantity yung nire-represent ng letter C kapag physics or I think it's physics. Next, ito. Same lang din naman yung first letter. Electromotive force is represented by capital E and the resistance is for capital R. So medyo nakakalito lang dito sa current. But at the same time, you are also supposed to identify the unit para hindi ka malito just in case hindi banggitin yung quantity na to. So the unit for the current is ampere, the unit for resistance is ohms, and the unit for electromotive force is volts. So yan, maging familiar na lang tayo. Kasi mamaya ata sa tanong, pwedeng hindi banggitin yung mga quantity, yung mga unit lang nila. So at least alam natin kung ano yung mga quantities na yon depending on their units. So second step is to verify if what type of variation is this one. Since we are seeing varies directly and varies inversely, both at the same problem, so na, yung dalawang variation is present sa problem na to, we can verify that this one is combined variation. Ngayon, identify na lang natin yung mathematical statement, which is the same as the joint variation. Ganun pa rin naman. All you need to do is to highlight the first one and yun lang tayo mag-focus, yun yung interpret natin. So the current I varies directly as the electromotive force E and inversely as the resistance R. So yan yung kuhain natin. First sentence, parang sa joint variation lang din. So ayan. So how do we interpret this one? So that's step number 3. Interpret this one as a mathematical equation. So the current I, so I I is equal to, so current natin, ito yung first quantity, and varies directly as the electromotive force, E. So, KE, yan, di ba? Varies directly, so katabi siya ni K. And inversely with R, so over R. Yan, so, ayun yung ating representation from that statement. So, step number 4 is for us to use this mathematical equation at the same time the first set of given. So, ano yung first set of given natin dyan? Highlight ko lang. Yun nasa pangalawang sentence. First, the current. So, huwag kayong malito. Once again, it's represented by I. So, lagay ko dyan, I is equal to 20. And then we have resistance, R, capital R is equal to 20. And then, yan, huwag kayong yung kalimutan, ohms yung unit nun hindi lang siguro na-highlight. And with an electromotive force of 100 volts. So, E is equal to 100. So, all we need to do, once again, is to use this mathematical equation to get the value of K. So, I is equal to, so I, papalitan natin to 20. So, 20 to is equal to, copy mo lang yung K, and then you write E. E is the electromotive force. So, ang value na natin is 100 all over R. So, ang R natin ay 20. So, 20. Tama ba? Yan, resistance R is 20 ohms. Now, here, all you need to do is to, just to remove the denominator 20 dun sa right side ng equation natin, we can multiply 20 for both sides. Yan, so 20. Yan, so from that, yan, so pwede na itong masimplify. 20 divided by 20 will just be 1. So we have here, K times 100. So 100K nandito sa right side. And dito sa left is 20 times 20, which is 400. So simplify lang natin yan. Sulat natin dito, 400 is equal to 100K. So divide both sides by 100. Yan, so 100K is equal to 4. So our constant of variation K is equal to 4. So once again, katulad ng ginagawa natin from before, we'll use that value of K to form the equation of variation. So equation of variation, gamitin ulit natin to, yung mathematical equation. And all we need to do is to substitute 4 to the value of K. So that will be I is equal to 4 times E all over R. So from that, we can solve for the missing quantity, and the missing quantity will be, yan, according to the problem, we are to find the current. So, I is missing. So, we have the given E, 150 volts, di ba? Kanina, ang unit ng electromotive force natin ay volts. So, we can identify that this 150 is electromotive force. And then, ohms naman is for the resistance. So, we can say that 20 is for the value of resistance. So, 20. Yan. So, ganun pa rin. Substitute lang natin yung values. I is equal to 4 times E. Ang E natin ay 150. So, 150 all over R is 20. So, I is equal to 4 times 150 is 600 all over 20. Dividing 600 to 20, the answer is 30. So, ang I natin ay 30. Ngayon, hanapin mo na lang yung unit. So, anong unit ng ating current or I? The unit is, yan, the current I will have the unit amperes. Yan, so, the answer is 30 amperes. Diba? So, wala pa rin pagkakaiba pagdating sa steps. Medyo nagbago lang ng onti yung representation sa mathematical equation. But the steps will still be the same. So, I hope by this time, medyo nadadalian na kayo sa pagsosolve kahit problems yung ibibigay ni Sir Valera. Now, as we continue, let's have example number 2. So, ito force ulit pero ibang lesson na. So, kung titignan nyo, puro physics kasi sa physics maraming variation problems. Hindi lang siya binabanggit na variation problem. Sometimes, proportion kasi. But proportion is the same as variation. Siguro hindi nyo lang napapansin kung naaral nyo na yung mga sa chemistry, yung mga gas laws. variation yon. Meron dong direct, merong inverse, may joint, may combine. Depende sa mga gas law na pag-aaralan nyo. So, more on physics yung ating mga application. So, we have this problem that says, the force of attraction F of a body varies directly as its mass m and inversely as the square of the distance d from the body. When m is equal to 12 kilograms and d is equal to 8 meters, the force or F, tama ba? Force of attraction is 100 newtons. Find F when m is equal to 3 and d is equal to 2. So in this case, tignan lang ulit natin yung unit by just reading the problem. We say that the mass is in kilograms, the distance is in meters, and the force or of attraction is in newtons. So I hope, hindi ko alam kung aware na kayo, but familiar yan yung force, the unit of Newton. Now, as we continue, first we have to identify the present quantities. So unang-una dyan, syempre yung force of attraction F. Second, the mass. And the third will be the square of the distance. So, dito, nilagyan ko na ng square of distance. So, hindi ko na lang siya ginawang just variable d para aware na tayo na kapag gumawa tayo ng equation, pag sinabing square of distance, d squared na agad yung ilalagay natin. Now, as we continue, since we identify the steps, the quantities already, next step is to verify this type of variation. So, varies directly siya, then varies inversely. So, combined variation siya. Combined variation to. Combination ng dalawang type of variation natin. Now, next is for us to create a mathematical statement which is also present on the problem itself. So, force of attraction F of a body varies directly as its mass m and inversely as the square of distance d. So once again, we represent the square of distance d as d squared. Yan. So now we also represent the force as F and the mass as m. So direct siya sa mass. So F is equal to km all over inverse siya sa distance or square of the distance. So instead of d, we make it d squared. Now as we continue, the fourth step is for us to solve for the value of k using the mathematical equation and the same time the first set of given. So, asan yung first set of given natin? Ayan, yung nasa pangalawang sentence. When m is equal to 12, sulat na natin. And d or the distance is 8 and then the force is 100 newtons. So once again, wag na muna natin sulat yung unit. Sa dulo naman na mahalaga yan. Now, as we continue, let's try to use once again the mathematical equation to solve for the value of k. So substitute lang natin. F or the force of attraction is 100. And then copy mo lang yung k. Then ang mass natin ay 12. And then all over d, which is d squared yan so magiging 8 squared siya. So 8 squared will be 64. So lagay lang natin dito sa baba. 12 times k or k times 12 is 12k over 64 is equal to 100. Now, from there, you can multiply both sides by 64. Yan. So, kapag ginawa natin yan, ano mangyayari sa equation natin? So, this one will become 1 for both of them. So, 64 times 100 na lang tayo. 6,400 is equal to 12k. Now, if we try to divide both sides by 12, yan, just to get the value of k, kung mapapansin nyo, 6,400 is not divisible by 12. So, ang pwede natin gawin dito is we can have the lowest term by dividing both of them with the greatest common factor. So, the greatest common factor for 6,412 will be, ano sa tingin nyo? Type nyo nga, anong greatest common factor ni 6,400 tsaka ni 12? Sige, ano sa tingin nyo? Type nyo sa chat box. Very good, Lawrence. It's 4. So, hindi kasi divisible by 12 siya, but it's divisible by 4. So, we can divide both of them by 4. So making now our K will be equal to 6,400 divided by 4 is 1,600 and 12 divided by 4 is 3. Yes, our constant of variation K is a fraction. So K is equal to 1,600. Yan. So as we continue, we'll try to use this mathematical equation and the constant of variation K to create to form an equation of variation. So ito 'yan. And then yung K papalit natin. So papansin nyo, sir parang medyo komplikado. Ang taas no or ang taas niya at the same time fraction siya. So huwag kayong mag-alala. Ganun pa rin naman yung steps, hindi magbabago. So F, lakihan ko lang kasi mataas to or malaki. 1,600 papalit natin sa K over 3 times M all over D squared. Yan. 'Di ba? So ganun pa rin. So kung gusto nyo, pwede nyo gawing 1,600 over 3. So lagyan nyo ng parenthesis para yan, isolated talaga siya. At the same time, we can now proceed to step number 6. So kung titingnan nyo, ayan na itsura niya. So nilagyan ko parenthesis para madali. Now, all we need to do is to identify ano ba yung missing natin. Find F. So I think that force of attraction is missing. We're given with the mass which is M and the distance which is D. So mass is 2 and distance is 2
Baliktad
meters.
po, sir.
Ay, sorry. Tama. Mass is 3 and distance is 2. Yan, sige, salamat. Now, as we continue, F is equal to 1,600 over 3 times M is 3. So, lagay lang natin. O, kita nyo, maka-cancel naman pala or madi-divide. Then, D is 2. So, this one is 2 squared. Yan, supposed to be 4. Now here, simplify lang muna natin yung mga pwedeng i-simplify. Ito magiging 1. 'Di ba? We can divide. 3 divided by 3 will be 1. This one will be equal to 4. So, as we continue, we can have now F is equal to this on the numerator. This is just simply 1,600. On the denominator, this one will just be equal to 4. So the question is 1,600 divided by 4. The answer is 400. Now, what's the unit of force? The unit of force is
Newton.
very good. The unit of force is Newton according to the problem. So our final answer is now 400 Newton. Yan. So, yan. Force of attraction unit is Newton. So the answer or the final answer is Newton. So as you can see, halos parehas lang din yung parehas lang din, hindi halos, parehas lang din yung steps. Although, makikita niyo, ang pagkakaiba lang nila is yung ating representation on a mathematical equation.